Good day. Thank you for being here today with Everyone's Got a Story. What's yours? I'm the host, Mike Schmeeckle, and today we have Tony Lucero. It's an honor to have you here today.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much, most appreciated. And well, I want to give you a little bit of history about Tony before we begin here. He's a successful entrepreneur. He's an author, a public speaker, businessman, rock and rollist. He's a business coach and consultant, and so much more. So I'm looking forward to know more about his story, and definitely have you to hear his story about what's been going on in his world.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So can you tell us about your story and why it's so important to you, please?
Well, I've got an interesting story. I know everybody that comes, I feel, has a best-selling book or a major motion picture in them. I believe everybody has that. But, you know, I have a really interesting one, really interesting childhood. My mom was married 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And in doing that, there's not a lot of stability there. My stepfather, the one that raised me from the time I was like 5 to 11, wasn't the nicest of gentlemen, let's just put it that way. And I was constantly reminded of kind of what a mistake I was to be in his world with my mother.
Gotcha.
And we had 4 kids that kind of grew up in that environment. It was a very hostile environment. And it was at a very young age I kind of discovered, I think, some of the biggest lessons I learned later in my life, which I'll share with you. But I just, life is, no matter what is going on in your world, I want you to know that life is a gift.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, we get that Christmas gift that we're like, oh, this is nice, thank you, you know. so if we know that, right,
Yes.
then we can kind of navigate through this thing called life with a little bit more grace. So I had that growing up as a kid, very interesting childhood. My mom moved around a lot, obviously. We moved away from that situation when I was in high school, and I went to high school in Houston, Texas, grew up in, and went straight into the Air Force. And it was in the Air Force I kind of learned about this thing called, what is it called, discipline?
Yes. And thank you for serving, by the way.
Thank you. Focus and all these things. And what I did at that moment when I was 17 years old, I didn't want my mom to have to worry anymore about her kids, or especially me.
Yes.
So I joined the military. I think I was the only one in my graduating class that did back in 1984.
Cool.
And spent 5.5 years away from, you know, mom, and just kind of figuring out, you know, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I realized, Michael, that I did not want to be a follower. Like, after having a stepfather that yelled at me as a kid, and told me that I was, you know, worthless and I would never amount to anything, the last thing I wanted to do was to have drill instructors tell me that too, or say, hey, you can't go on vacation, you know, it's because they're very, you know, regimented.
Yes.
So when I got out of the military, I said, okay, what am I going to do? And one of the things I had developed growing up was this ability to communicate with people.
Yes.
Like, even
you do quite well,
oh,
too.
thank you. Well, even as a kid, like, I always had a smile on my face. No matter what was going on, I always had like this smile on my face. My mom always called me her sunshine.
Aww.
And so even as a kid, people would say, go talk to that little kid. He knows, he'll put a smile on your face. I was that little kid, even though my life, it didn't really take on that. I just always found something positive amongst everything. And so I got into marketing, I got into sales, I developed a quench for personal growth and personal development, which is something I didn't have as a kid. I didn't have the father figure, so it was either mother's way or no way. And so I just kind of got on this path of personal growth and development, and I became an entrepreneur at a very young age, where I discovered this whole direct sales industry.
Yes.
And really honed in on my communication skills even more, and I was always the kid the guy that said, hey, bring that guy up to the front of the room and let him share a message. I was always that guy. Bring Tony up, bring Tony up, bring Tony up, because I had gone through a lot of experience as a kid.
Yes.
So my story just kind of led me to do what I do now, but along the way, as we all do, there's things that happen. My brother at 19 years old, my youngest brother, took his life. What else? This bankruptcy thing, I know what that looks like. I've experienced that. I've been in a car wreck that, you know, allowed me not to work for a period of time or pay bills.
True.
I've been through bad relationships. I've had an abusive father. I've had money stolen from me, from business partners. So I've been through so much so that when I speak, people sense like they can relate to me.
Yes.
And a lot of people have changed the course of their life because of something I've said,
Yes.
because I always have the ability to put a positive spin on everything.
Yes.
You know, and I'll share this with you because this is probably one of the most significant things that caused this whole thing. When I was 11 years old, when we finally moved away from my stepfather, the one that was really abrasive,
Yes.
I'm in Houston, Texas. It's the first summer I'm away from this guy. It's 105 degrees, and I'm on this teeter-totter
Oh my.
at a park, right? We know what teeter-totters are.
Oh, yes.
And I'm standing on the middle of it, and I look up at the heavens, and I say, for the rest of my life, I'm going to choose happiness. I knew what unhappiness was because I was raised in that environment. And I said, for the rest of my life, I'm going to choose the opposite of that. And that's my filter for everything. Everything I do brings me a sense of peace and joy and puts a smile on my face. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it.
I love it.
So now I'm doing something I love to do, which is things like this and helping people discover what I call their magnificence.
Yes.
To bring out this thing that may be hidden, that's buried underneath all the shrapnel of all the wounds that we have in our lives,
Yes.
and tell people that's just who you were, it's not who you are.
Correct.
And so that's what we're doing now. We're on this crusade to bring the light to people, you know?
Love it. I love it. Yeah, you've gone through a lot
Yeah.
over the years.
Yeah.
I like when we first met a few years ago at the Soulworks.
Yeah.
And you also got back from, I think not too far before that was Machu Picchu in Peru.
Yeah.
You connect really well with Condor.
Yeah.
And I think you wrote a book about this, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I brought one. So it's one of those things, I feel like we're all we all have this purpose, right? We all have this destiny.
Yes.
And we have to experience these things along this journey or along this path, people like to call it, in order to get to what our destiny, what our calling is. And one of the things that led me to was this place called Peru. I didn't even know if somebody says, hey, Tony, let's go on a vacation together. Like Peru would not even be on my radar. I'd go, hey, let's go to Aruba. Let's go to...
Exactly.
But for whatever reason, it kept popping up. And so I had to honor that. And I said, okay, am I supposed to go to Peru? So I went to Peru and I spent a month in the jungle working with people and meeting people from all over the world. And I came back from that event. Actually, I've gone 4 times since now.
Wow, nice.
But I came back from that event and I go, wow, I don't know what I don't know. And this book came to me, and I literally hugged my wife and I said, honey, I gotta do this book thing. I gotta write this book. And in 4 days, this book, How to Give Birth to a Condor, came out, and I wrote this, and it truly is a guide to discovery. It's the story of my life
Yes.
and all the things I've encountered in my life in a way where people can go, oh gosh, that's like a blueprint.
Exactly.
You created a blueprint for people to overcome
Yes.
things like addictions and the abuse of this, and how to be positive and how to set up goals. And that's what this book is. And the condor, I discovered, was my spirit animal. So for those people that are into animals and numbers and astrology and things like that, my spirit animal, my guide, has always been this magnificent bird. And when I've studied this condor in Peru, I was like, oh my God, that is me. Like I am this light. I am this thing that likes to fly and be free and impact people. And so here we are.
Very true. Like I have a kinship with wolves, so I definitely understand that quite well.
Yeah, awesome.
So yes, there's so much more about you.
Yeah.
I know your wife Rhonda. She's amazing. You've got a great family.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to all this? Because you got so much enrichment on this.
Yeah, I go for it. And there's this thing called time. It's our greatest commodity.
Yes, it is.
And there's a lot of people that don't really value time, and they're not doing the most with time. And I really value time. And so with respect to time, it's like, what can I be doing that puts the smile on my face, that keeps me in a light or a positive space? What can I be doing? And I know, just like you have these amazing gifts, and everybody that's watching has these amazing gifts. Like,
Thank you.
I'd be doing myself a disservice with respect to time if I wasn't applying them or using them or developing or enhancing them. So I was a touring musician for 6 years.
Which was awesome. And the No Fear Tour, if I remember right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I also got into understanding the mind. I at a twist of fate one night in Las Vegas, I was introduced to a hypnosis show and
interesting.
became friends with this guy. And the next thing you know, I'm a comedy stage hypnotist that's traveling all over the world.
That's cool.
For 10 years doing comedy shows, bringing laughter to people's lives. So
Sweet.
I've been that. I've, I speak all over the world on the subject of truth and honoring yourself and health and wellness, as you know. And I'm a product of my product is the best way to describe it.
That is a very true statement on you.
Yeah.
It's very true.
What you kind of see with me is how I pretty much show up every day. And if I don't, then there's tools and resources, things that like you teach. There's tools and resources that I use to fall back on.
Yes.
Like meditation and breath work and taking your shoes off and walking with nature and
For earthing, yes.
anything like that. And then I get back in the frequency of goodness and then I go.
Oh, yes.
So those are some of the things I teach too as well.
So a good question for you is, what inspires you and motivates you to be the next step where you're moving forward in your life?
Yeah, my wife inspires me a lot. I know that's kind of like a brownie point, but it's so true.
The unification, the two of you together
Yeah.
is magnificent.
Yeah.
And you together is very inspiring.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. I've known you guys for many years, and it's just so beautiful to see.
Yeah, because of my free spirit, a lot of people can't handle that. It's like you're always just kind of like a little beef just floating around and, looking for pollen or whatever. But for my wife, Rhonda, to have this foundation as she does,
Yes.
and for her and I to be the yin and the yang together, and like she's my biggest fan. Like she's always wanting me to develop me, and I'm always wanting to develop the best of her as well. And, we've impacted millions of people's lives in the last 22 years together. And I feel like we're just like getting started. It's like everything's still new and fresh. And it's because we're in this frequency. And the frequency is of growth. The frequency is now living in the present, which you and I have talked about, like living in this moment.
Yes.
Not yesterday, not, all about the future. No, we gotta, make our next million. But it's all about in this moment of time that we have.
Yes.
What are we doing to better ourselves? And in doing so, we're bettering humanity all around us. We're bettering our entire environment around us.
Yes, very, very, very true.
Yeah.
I've always looked at the past is hindsight. To learn from that and to live in the present is truly a gift.
Yep.
As you work towards a future, be like an author. Write yourself as a bestseller and have yourself as a masterpiece in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. What is Rush, the band, said we're all merely, the world's a stage and we're all merely players and portrayers, And so if the world is a stage and we can write our own story, which we can, which a lot of people think, oh, no, you don't know me. My dad had this, my mom was this, and blah, 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 blah. I get that. Enough of that. We all can create. We're all here divinely to create our stories.
Correct.
And we don't have to be a victim. If we stay a victim, then that's a choice. And my first chapter in my book is choice.
Yes.
And it's something that people need to know, that I have a choice to feel amazing. I have a choice to feel depressed. To be depressed. I have a choice to have this friend or not have that friend. I have a choice what to eat. So why can't I choose happiness or joy or abundance?
Correct.
Or healing for people? Why? You can choose it.
Yes.
And when you choose it, then start to figure out how to apply it. So make the decision and then figure out how to apply it. Find people like you, find people like me, read books. We have this thing called the internet. I don't know if you've seen this thing. But there's so much information. You want to learn Qigong, you want to learn yoga, you want to learn how to write a book. It's all so accessible to us. So make a choice.
Yes.
I choose to be happy. Okay, what do happy people do? Google it. What do happy people do? Oh my gosh, they do this. Then do it.
Exactly. It's part of the mindset.
It is. It's a mindset. And the thing that I really teach people is this whole idea of this heart connection.
Yes.
Because knowing the mind and how it works as a hypnotist, this can sabotage wonderful things that are going on. For example, let's say I'm single and I see somebody and I go, wow, I'd sure like to meet her. Well, as soon as that happens, the mind goes, yeah, but Tony, You know, she looks like she's probably wants somebody that's rich and successful. And who are you? Your last relationship. So your mind goes, does all this stuff.
Overthinking.
But your heart's going, oh my gosh,
Yes.
you should.
Yes.
Yes, I want that for you. And so the mind has this ability to sabotage. And what the challenge for humanity is, most people are plugged in here. And if they could just surrender this and listen to this and feel
Correct.
this,
Correct.
OMG,
Yes.
look out. And I help people make that, it's not a transition, but the adaptation to know that these both exist and you can exist together. You can coexist.
Yes.
You can ask your heart, hey heart, what do you feel like doing right now? Versus going, hey man, hey brain, what do you want to do right now? Well, just relax, Tony. Just do nothing today. You've been working so hard. And your heart's going, no, but Tony, I want you to go out there and do the show with Michael. You see what I'm saying? So there's this battle that goes on in a nanosecond. And most of the time we listen to this. So I help people recognize this, take information with this, but then move their life and flow with connected to this.
Yes.
Because this wants nothing but goodness.
Yes.
Nothing but love and light and possibility and all that, right?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I've also have been to some of your sound healings
Oh, yeah.
and your meditations. I'm looking forward to, over the time of the years of our connections to get stronger, to see the library of your life to continue on as the years go through.
Yeah.
Eventually when we hit triple digits.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Life is, to me, it's a smorgasbord, Michael. It's like,
It is.
I am so grateful that I've been given this gift of life, and I believe that God, Spirit, Source,
Yes.
whatever you want to believe, right?
Yes.
Put us all on this planet for magnificence, nothing but magnificence.
Correct.
And it's up to us along our story's journey as it unveils to decide how magnificent we want to be.
Actually, I was talking to a friend the other day. To go on what you just said there, we were giving a life. It wasn't per se good, wasn't bad. It was a life, and how we perceive and do it in our life and how we create it is how we move forward in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, figure there's 8 billion people on this planet.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
So let's say there's 8 billion.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people that have had their own perception of what life is.
Correct.
So who am I to manipulate anybody's opinion of what life is?
Correct.
All I can do is control and be the master captain of my ship and what I'm doing. So media, if I don't like it, I don't watch it.
Correct.
Right? But some people, that's their reality. They gotta know what's going on with politics. They gotta know what's going on in third world countries. That's just not in my world.
Yep.
Because that doesn't do this. It doesn't bring the joy, the peace, the love. And I want to be light. I want to be, minimalist in things that I'm exposed to.
Yes.
And I have this ability to take out the trash instantly. If I don't like something, it's gone.
Yep.
I pluck the weed. It's funny. My stepfather, when I was a kid, he used to punish me. Get outside and pull weeds. Get out there. And I used to hate pulling weeds. I had blisters, I had cuts. We could never have gloves. It was like we're always pulling weeds, dirty fingernails. That's how you punish us. But here in life later, I see the metaphor of what that is, and what I teach now is this whole garden that we have. And we're constantly pulling weeds.
Correct.
I don't like that one. Pull it for something new to sprout up. And we tend to our garden. So we're constantly removing and adding, removing and adding, removing and adding. I don't like this, get rid of it. I want this, plant it. And that's really how I now go through my life, is I look at things in my life, my relationships, a career, if I'm going to do something. Is it something that does this?
Exactly.
Brings me joy,
Exactly.
peace, and light. If it doesn't, I pluck it.
Yes.
I pull the weed.
Yes.
It's that simple.
And as you go through that, every garden that's out there needs the fertilizer, the moisture, the rain, the sunshine, the breath of air, good clean aspects. By bringing that health, wellness, and healing into your life, it magnifies the abundance of the harvest that you create within your own life.
You got it. Yeah. And that garden that grows brings opportunity, it brings abundance, it brings nourishment
Yes.
to you, right? And so as long as we stay in that frequency, everything's a frequency, right? Everything's
Yes.
energy,
Energy and frequency and vibration is everything.
everything. So as long as we stay in that frequency, what happens is goodness.
Yes.
So that's why I have so many business opportunities that end up in Tony's world, because I'm in this frequency. If I'm out of the frequency, I'm not going to see all the good stuff. I'll never hear about did you hear about that? No, I didn't, because I'm way over here mulling around in the feces of, of the earth, right?
Yes.
So I teach people is to get a taste of what goodness feels like.
Yes.
And your only goal, if you decide to, your only mission, if you decide to, is to stay in it. Figure out, and the second you recognize that you're out of it, how do you get back in it?
Correct.
Oh, I have daddy issues. Oh my gosh, I hear my dad telling me I'm worth it. Get back in it. How do you do it? So you pull a tool or a resource, things that people can learn, breath work and yoga and healing, qigong, whatever, reading a book, sitting down, listening to music, something.
Yes.
And you get back into that space.
Yes.
And it's harder for people because they like to self-sabotage. The brain goes, oh, Tony, you don't need all that abundance. You don't need to have more relationships. You don't need to make more money because you're going to pay more taxes. Your brain does all this weird stuff.
Yes, they do, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we got to figure out how to go, okay, I got you. I hear what you're saying, but that's not the truth. The truth is what I'm feeling right now. And what I'm feeling right now is I'm feeling good.
Yes.
And I'm doing the right things. And I'm making a difference. And that's what we got to get people to. We got to get people to, my big thing is to let go so you can grow. So these beautiful flowers that you've been planting in your garden that you're tending to can grow. You got to let everything go, all of it.
Yes, that is true.
Like what I did yesterday, what I ate yesterday, it doesn't matter because I'm here with you today.
Yes.
And there's nothing that's more important than this moment in my life right now. So as long as I'm smiling, I'm good.
Time and energy is a true economy of the commodity of life.
Yeah.
It is a true treasure and a blessing when, by giving that time, like we are right now, that's a cherished moment because we can never get that time back.
No.
So I definitely truly appreciate you and thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there anything I should have asked that the audience would love to know more about you on? Or a message that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want people to know, Michael, that they are very, very important. And the story that they're telling themselves, or maybe the story that somebody's been telling them, like imagine if my story was, I would never amount to anything, that I was a failure. Don't even try because you're too small. You're not even mine. Imagine if I said, I don't even know what love is because no one ever told me that as a kid growing up. That's a story I was told.
Yeah.
When I went into the military, they told me I was dumb and that I was a mistake and you're nothing. So imagine if that was what I bought into.
Yeah.
And so I can tell, my thing to tell people is right now you can change your story.
Correct.
Right now, if it's euphoria you want, it's a choice.
Yes.
You might not know what it feels like, what it looks like, but that's okay. At least make the decision that you want to be different, you want to experience more, you want to feel more, and you want to let go of the past. And so forgiveness is the ultimate state of joy.
Yes.
And when you can forgive yourself and others, you can have joy in your life. You can start to have joy in your life. And so I teach people that. So be the light.
Yes.
Find your truth.
Yes.
And when you find your truth, you're going to look back and go, oh, wow, those people had no idea who I really am. And there's power in your truth.
Yes.
So
yes, there is.
Doing things like this, we get to help people realize that.
Which is definitely a true honor. And I thank you very much for being there for others. And thank you for not believing in a limited perception of what was someone else was trying to project upon you in your youth.
Yeah.
You chose to choose life of Tony.
Yeah.
And from there, you have changed and been part of millions of people around the world over the years. You've been such a powerful and positive impact for others.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's very true.
Yeah. Yeah, we, one last thing, this is popping up, so you said that, is you have to understand if your intention to go through this life is coming from a good place,
Yes.
love, growth, like understanding, whatever, how somebody else responds to that, that is their growth that they have to go through.
Correct.
You know, so my stepfather was coming at me or whatever, it's like, that was his stuff. It wasn't mine. I was just a little kid.
Correct.
I was a 6, 7-year-old kid that was just trying to, want to go outside and play all the time, and have friends at school. So when he was saying those things, I had to, at a very young age, figure out, like, is that the truth? Like, am I really stupid? Am I really dumb? Am I really worthless? And so at a very young age, that was my big lesson. This is how people's perception of themselves are and something they have to work through, not me. Now, if I was a kid and I was out doing drugs and breaking into people's houses, different story. But I wasn't.
Correct.
And that has stuck with me my whole life, because when I come from love with something and I give somebody a message that maybe doesn't feel good to them because it's the truth,
Yes.
how they respond to that, that's their thing that they have to figure out how to grow through, right?
Yes.
As long as I'm coming from here,
Yes.
from a place of love.
Yes.
And that's what's so cool. So when something goes wrong and you're coming from love and light and goodness, how they respond or what they're doing, it's stuff that they have to deal with, not you.
That is correct.
Okay? So just be the best version of you. Be magnificent like you are.
Exactly like you are, and like you out there also. So thank you much for everybody for being here today, and thank you, Tony,
Thank you.
for being here. It has been a true honor to have you here on my show today.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Yes, definitely. Let's get together here in a few months and bring you back on, because you have so much going on in your life.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time today to have that. So yes, let's get you back on here soon.
I'd be honored. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. So thank you everybody for being here on Everyone's Got a Story. What's yours? I'm Michael Schmeeckle, and thank you once again.